Radio Bypass, bringing you rock and roll music that deserves to be heard. Discover new bands. Here's some old favorites on Radio Bypass.
Hey guys, today on Radio Bypass, we are joined by a man who is a fellow podcaster, a professional wrestler, and a rocker who is now on the RFK Media roster and just released his debut single for the label. Please welcome Robby Vegas. How are you, Robby?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, and I've been looking forward to this, so yeah.
Yeah, me too. It's nice to meet somebody else that's a rocker and a podcaster. We have those two things in common. Wrestling, I know nothing about, and I probably would suck at it.
Hey, it's never too late. I do own a wrestling school, so.
All right, maybe I'll come out for a couple of lessons. You can teach me the basics.
I love it.
So your new single is called Rock Show, right?
Yes, sir.
It's going to be your first release for RFK Media. But before we get and dive into the song, I thought let's talk a little bit about you first, because I think it's kind of interesting that you've got all these backgrounds, and you've always been a rocker, but then you became a professional wrestler, and probably, I'm assuming, more recently in the timeline was the podcaster. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I got heavy into music just as a kid. And when I say kid, I literally mean like 5 years old. I discovered the Beatles and Kiss. At the same time, my uncle gave me Kiss Alive on vinyl, and he gave me a couple Beatles records, and that was basically it. From then on, it was an addiction to rock and roll and, trying to discover as much music, as many bands as possible. And I actually started playing the guitar when I was 6 years old. And by the time I was 13, I played my first live show. And by the time I was 14, that was the first time I was in a full band and, making a couple bucks here and there playing music. And I just got addicted to it. So I've been in the music scene and music business in some way, shape, or form for basically my whole life, from teenager on. And wrestling came later. I was always a huge wrestling fan growing up. Loved Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Diesel, Razor Ramon, all those guys. And at some point, I started fronting a band and became the lead singer because I was just a guitar player for a long time. And I was at the gym, and I was kind of getting, a little disgruntled with the music scene at the time. And this guy came up to me and, noticed, I was pushing a lot of weight for somebody my size. And he asked me if I ever thought about professional wrestling. And I was like, is this a joke? Because yes, I have. So, he took me to a school, and I actually didn't like it. I did a couple lessons at this place, and but I didn't want to stop wrestling. I just didn't like that place. So I did some research, and I found a different place. And I ended up training under a guy named Brian Jennings, whose trainer is the legendary Les Thatcher. And about a year later after that, I started, getting on shows, and that was 15 years ago. And music took a little bit of a backseat at the time, just because I needed to clear my head. I'd been doing it at that point for 7 years, and I was only 21. So, wow. So finally, I get into wrestling, and I start getting the music itch again. And, I kind of always kept a hand in it and started doing it more and more and more. And I put out some releases, and eventually I linked up with David Julian, who, famously worked on 10,000 Volts with Ace Frehley. Okay. And that's who my co-writer is on Rock Show and, a couple of the singles that came out before that. And as just before all that was happening, we actually connected because I started a podcast. So my podcast is about 6 or 7 years oldish, somewhere around there. And I've had on, Dee Snider, Kip Winger, Bruce Kulick, a lot of the guys that I grew up listening to and love. Sure. And the podcast started doing really well. And I reconnected with David over him working with Ace and Steve Brown from Trickster, of course, who, co-wrote and worked on all those, the entire album. And I had Steve on, and I had my buddy TJ on the show, who's also a singer, musician. And he let me know that David was writing with Ace. And me and David reconnected, and all of a sudden, here I am releasing Rock Show with RFK Media.
Wow, that is a great story. So I think you have two extremely distinct identities there. So how do you wrestle with that? And no pun intended. But how do you wrestle with that in your brain? Do you see yourself more as a wrestler who rocks or a rocker who wrestles?
I see myself more of a rocker who wrestles. So the thing with wrestling is for my first few years in the business, I was just Robbie Vegas, the wrestler, and I felt stale. I felt generic. Like, I did my shows and I had my little fan base or whatever, but something wasn't clicking. And then I can't remember who it was now. So if they're listening to this, I apologize. But somebody came up to me and said, you're this rock and roll guy, and you're out there playing these gigs and stuff when you're not wrestling. Like, why aren't you just bringing that to this? Like, you could be yourself as a wrestler, and that's where Rockstar Robbie Vegas was born, my wrestling moniker. So I started, the first step was, okay, well, let's get some cool like 80s rock and roll pants made. So I loosely based my first pair on Vince Neil on the Shout at the Devil record. So I got the black and red, trunks and all that, and I started doing the Rockstar Robbie Vegas thing, and all of a sudden it started catching on, and I started to get more comfortable in the ring, and all of a sudden my matches were getting better, and all of a sudden I was getting better bookings, and I was winning championships, and I was in main events, and I was like, wow, I was missing this the whole time, and all I had to do was be my normal 80s rock and roll hair metal self, and here I was trying to like split in two when I just had to be one. So, it was
so
kind of an interesting thing. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. Because I would think you'd be two as well. But
Yeah.
But again, I don't know a lot about the wrestling world, but so I'm glad that you can meld your two loves together.
Yeah. When that happened, I started to do like even more recently. I did some parodies of old rock and roll album T-shirts, but put my name on them instead, and did like little tweaks. Like I did the Poison Open Up and Say Ah record, but it says Robbie Vegas instead of Poison, and the eyes are mine. And we did stuff like that, or like Black Sabbath Volume 4, except I'm holding up my two championships instead of Ozzy just being in the front. So we started to play with it a little bit.
Did you have some fringe at least, though?
Not in that one, no.
Gotcha. Well, that's interesting. Okay, so that kind of ties in then to one of the things I had written down for myself after I first heard Rock Show. And I think we already kind of know some of the answer, but maybe you can expound on it, because I wanted to ask what inspired Rock Show, the song.
So David hit me up. We'd been working on my full length record, which is complete, but Rock Show is just step one of that. But at the time, we still needed a couple more tracks, and he gave me a call, and he said, "I got this riff, and it sounds like a song where like a rock anthem," but he didn't use the word rock anthem. He said
it is kind of like an anthem, though.
Yes, yeah, and that's what I heard when he sent me the music for it. He said, I got this riff, I got this music that sounds like what that feel good rock and roll that we really love. Like it has that feeling. It just makes you feel good." And he sent it to me, and I listened to it, and I immediately was like, this is going to be my rock and roll all night, my nothing but a good time, my youth gone wild. It's going to be a rock anthem. So when I was writing it, I kind of dug into my influences, but I also just thought to all of the concerts that not only that I've done, but that I've gone to see. And I know what it's like to be the fan, and I know what it's like to be on the stage. And they're both equally passionate. They're both equally in love with rock and roll. For whatever reasons, it's in our blood. It's what we do. It's a community. It's powerful. It moves you. It's something important. And if you're not in it, you don't know how important it truly is. So I wanted Rock Show to be a newer anthem, but that had that 80s feel of like, this is who we are, and this is what we do, and we love it, and this is what we're always going to be, and you can't do anything about it. And that's where that was born from.
I love that. I love that. And who's playing on it? Obviously, you're singing, and now I know you're a guitarist. I assume you're playing guitar on it as well. But who else is on the track?
So on this record, I'm giving all the props to David Julian, because on this song, because David is handling everything. I wrote the lyrics, I'm singing, I'm doing the background vocals. David's literally handled everything else. His guitar playing is insane. He's so talented. He's not just a great songwriter who has, these amazing credits to his name, but he's a great player. And so for that track specifically, which I'm glad we're going with that as the first single, because it really showcases, I could sit here and say, like, this is David Julian, like, you guys got to hear this, because he's really great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, okay. So that's who's playing. I thought maybe that was going to be you after you said you play guitar.
Yep.
And
I still do, but
And then I think you already answered some of the other thoughts that I had when I was hearing the track. because you gave very good answers there. So, and then I think you just kind of hinted at one of the things I wrote down. If the song is a preview of a bigger project, an EP or an album forthcoming, and it sounds like you do have an album on the way.
Yes, yeah, we do. Album is complete. Two of the previous singles, "Break Free" and "Nothing to Lose," are also on that record. So you'll hear the three singles that are out on that record, and then there is eight new tracks and then a bonus track, which is like a remix of the ballad that's on it. So you're going to technically get nine new tracks on the record when it comes out, and it's an all-star record. There's a lot of big musicians playing on this record and very talented people. Just looking back at the two releases, "Break Free" and "Nothing to Lose," that are also out right now, you hear Roxy Petrucci on drums on both, obviously Madam X and Vixen, and Jimmy Bell is playing on "Nothing to Lose" from Geezer Butler Band, Autograph, House of Lords, and Todd Beauvais from Bad Marriage is also on both of those tracks as well. So, and there's way more guests on the full album. We got Joey Casado, who just joined Twisted Sister, playing on a couple tracks. Juliana Amaral from Band Inc. is doing a duet with me on one of the tracks. Maxine Petrucci of Madam X playing on one of the tracks. So it's really going to be a star-studded record.
Nice, nice. Is there a release date that you can talk about yet, or
not yet? Only because Rock Show comes out Friday, April 10th, and after that, we're actually going to focus on getting a music video out for Rock Show, which we're going to hopefully grab some footage for on the Monsters of Rock cruise, and then finish that up when I get off the cruise. So once we're done pushing Rock Show and getting that music video out and stuff like that, we could start looking at the future. But right now, the focus is just on that song because we're trying to get those CD singles out there, and got the Monsters cruise to focus on. So
yeah, and anybody that's part of the cruise, if any of you guys listening maybe are heading out the same day as he is to that cruise, you're going to have that single, kind of a special edition available on the ship, right?
Yes, there will be CD singles on the ship. There will be Robby Vegas t-shirts on the ship, and I'm playing 3 times, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of the ship. So
excellent. And that's let's see, the 12th is that Monday? Yeah, 10, 11,
Sunday.
13. So you're playing the 13th, 14th, and 15th of April?
Yes, I am. We board on that Sunday, and we set sail Sunday night, and I will play my first gig Monday early evening, 5 o'clock, I believe, on Deck 6 in the Social Lounge.
Awesome. I wish I could be floating along with you.
Right.
Well, that's cool. All right, so I'm glad to know we've got more to look forward to, and I'm going to have to check out these other 2 singles because you were new to me with this. So I'm anxious now to hear what else you've put out because I really enjoyed Rock Show a lot. Which everybody, you're going to hear that in a few minutes when we're done talking. Well, that's cool. All right, so album coming, great, and then for the ship, for anybody that might be part of that. Are you having a full band? Are you playing acoustic? How are you performing on the ship?
For the Monsters cruise this year, it will be 3 acoustic sets. I'm a part of the Monsters of Rock cruise Acoustic Rocks, which also includes Ted Poley, Joel Hoekstra, Jeff Scott Soto, guys like that.
Brandon Gibbs, then probably.
Gibbs. Yep. And there's a few other names too that are slipping my mind. Jason Beeler. So there's a lot of guys doing like the acoustic rocks portion. So I will be actually doing that all 3 days. So nice. What you're going to see if you come see me is a solo performance, just me and my acoustic guitar. I will be doing Rock Show acoustically, of course, and I'm going to be doing a mix of originals and covers because I know the Monsters of Rock cruise has such big rock fans that I took a few deep cuts from like Kiss and Poison and stuff like that. And I just want to have some fun with it. Instead of just doing a whole set of Robby Vegas, you're going to hear, a few surprises and some Def Leppard and Kiss and Poison and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Well, it's a great way to get to know you because you'll be playing some of your influences.
Yeah, 100%. And I can't get enough of those bands. So it's going to be a fun couple shows.
That's cool. Is this your first time performing on the Monsters of Rock cruise?
Performing, yes. I was on it last year, but not as a performer, just kind of hanging out. And this year, I actually get the 3 gigs. And I'm also team captain of one of the teams doing the Monster Feud, which is the Monsters of Rock cruise version of Family Feud. So that'll be a fun little thing for the audience to come and check out.
That's great. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, and then let's see. What else did I want to make sure I asked you? After when I heard the song, I made some different notes, but you're covering a lot of what I had written down. And then I guess my only other question really would be getting to know your podcaster side of yourself a little bit, because I've experienced a lot of change over my life back in the radio days and then doing this. And you've obviously interviewed some legends yourself as well.
Yeah.
But for you, it's different. I'm not really a performer. I mean, sure, I got a guitar back there, but I'm not you. So for you, it might be a little bit different when you get a chance to talk to some of these legends. So I guess one of the things I was thinking about is how has that shaped you as an artist yourself?
Well, it's pretty cool because the whole reason I started podcasting is because being a musician, being a wrestler, being on the road, I loved hearing people's "how did you get here" stories, or what are you doing this for stories. And when I started talking to people like Bruce Kulick or Dee Snider or Kip Winger, or even some of my favorite horror movie actors who I've had on the show, like it shapes me because I become one of them. Like I understand a lot of the things that they're saying and a lot of things that they went through to get where they're going. And their stories inspire me to keep writing my own story. And they inspire me to keep writing my own songs and to keep pushing in the entertainment business in my way. So if anything, it gave me the mentality of, you don't have to ever stop doing this. You don't, you're not at the end of like, well, maybe no more music and just wrestling, or maybe just music and no more wrestling. Like, why? If I could throw out Chris Jericho's name, because he's a podcast host, a rock star, and a professional wrestler on a huge scale. And I see a guy like that and I'm like, it can be done. And you just have to want it bad enough. And I think hearing the ups and downs and ebbs and flows of other people really put things in perspective for you. And it gives you the mindset of, I'm just getting started, instead of, I've already been doing this for 20 years. Who cares? You know what I mean?
Right.
I care. And if I care, everybody else will care. So.
Right. Well, we all know how tough it is to earn a living from music these days. Well, it always has been, but maybe worse these days.
Yeah.
So what drives you then? Just your love of and your passion for the music, right?
Yes, absolutely. I am so passionate about music. And maybe, I always thought that I was, and I always have been in some kind of way, but maybe now might be more than ever. Especially when you start hanging around with like-minded people and you have, these music conversations and you see such amazing performances and, you're doing such crazy good interviews and things like that. It really like brings that out of you when somebody says like, hey man, my favorite Kiss record is Revenge. And you're like, oh man, me too. And then you can go on and talk about it for 3 hours. And it's like, it makes you remember like, yeah, remember when you went out and bought, Winger 2? Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember, you know what I mean? And it just like really pulls that out of you and you really feel that love for it all over again. And you just remember like opening up Kiss Alive 1 and looking at the notes written and, it just makes you feel like, man, that was amazing. And now I'm in it in some kind of way, big or small. I'm such like a grain of sand in the beach of music, but like, it just feels good to be that little grain of sand regardless,
Yep. I completely understand, because except for the playing part, I'm the same way exactly.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. It really is.
It is, man. Music is just so special, and I and there's so much talent out there, so many talented new bands too. And I just wish for everyone that everybody gets to hear it, because I think if we had more music in the world that people are actually absorbing themselves of, like people, music, to me, a lot of folks now just kind of cast it off like it's just background stuff, where in my day, you absorbed yourself in it. You, like you said, you opened the album covers, you read every little credit you could read, you looked at the pictures, you listened to the whole album in its entirety. The only time you'd get up is to flip over to the other side, and you weren't done until you heard the whole record, and it was just such an immersive experience, and just took you somewhere else. I don't know how else to describe it exactly, but took you somewhere else. And I think we were more patient maybe in those days. And so all of that equates to me a little bit more kindness toward others. So I wish everybody
Yeah.
would just absorb themselves into music more. We'd be a more peaceful world, I think.
Well, I think that's why the rock and roll community is so tight knit and why everybody gets along so well, because there was a time when music was so ingrained in pop culture that whatever the big band or genre was, everybody knew about it. And
Right.
I think when we lost that, we lost a little piece of what made it special. But the rock and roll community still has it. You know, you go on a thing like the Monsters of Rock cruise, and you kind of take a step back and realize like we're all here and united for the same reason. This is our genre. These are our bands. And even me as a performer on this year's cruise, I'm a fan. I'm not putting myself in the category of I'm up here, you're out there because this is my first Monsters Rock cruise. Like I can't wait to see The Darkness, Black Label Society, Night Ranger, Vixen, Lita Ford, Slaughter, Enough's Enough, Cassidy Paris. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's an exciting thing because it's like, yeah, I'm gonna play and then I'm gonna go put my guitar in my cabin and I'm gonna run out and see who I can catch because I want to see everybody else, you
Sure.
know, and the rock and roll community is good like that. They're all great people and they, you know, people always say like be careful when you meet your idols or your heroes when you get into this business. But I mean, I met Sebastian Bach, Ace Frehley, and Brett Michaels. Those are three big ones for me, and they were incredible human beings. I mean, Chris Jericho was an incredible human being. Like, no regrets on meeting any of those guys. It just made me feel tighter into the community than I was before.
Hmm. Yeah, and same. I have the same experience. As I started meeting my heroes, I was never really disappointed. There was one guy that will remain nameless that wasn't the nicest, um, but everybody else was just fantastic people, you know. And just like you and me, all of them are just music fans too. You know,
Absolutely.
they may have been able to sell 40 million records or whatever of their own music, but they still love the music that they love, you know, and are
Yeah.
passionate about it.
I couldn't agree with that more, and I saw it firsthand last year on the cruise. I don't want to just keep name dropping a bunch of people, but you know, I'll just say that a group of us were watching Night Ranger from side stage, and I just looked around, and the only thing I could think is these are some of the biggest names in rock and roll ever, and we're all grouped up and in this little huddle here watching Night Ranger because everybody's still a fan of rock and roll, and
Yeah.
it was just a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. Well, that's awesome, man. I am so glad that we got a chance to talk here because we definitely share all the same passions other than the wrestling. But I'm going to come to your school and maybe I'll learn to be passionate about that.
Yeah, there you go. I love it.
All right. Well, I want to definitely crank up the song. If somebody is just learning about you right now, like I recently just learned about you, and if somebody is hearing the song for the first time, I've had multiple opportunities to hear the song, but if they're hearing Rock Show right now for the first time, what do you hope somebody takes away from Rock Show?
I honestly hope that they feel that it's the anthem that I wanted it to be. I hope it's gonna go into their music library and be one of those songs that gets you amped up for a concert and reminds you why you love rock and roll, why we love rock and roll, and why we continue to go out with our fists in the air, wearing our badass rock and roll clothes, and really, you know, falling in love with it over and over again. Like that's what I want for rock show is to go, oh my God, you know what? This reminds me of that time we went to see whoever and we had the best time. Like
Right.
that's what I want for rock show is for people to remember those amazing happy moments at concerts or performing if you're a fellow performer, you know.
All right. Awesome. All right. And to keep up with Robbie and learn more, RobbyVegas.com is your website.
Yes,
And
it
it looks
is.
like you keep that up to date. I took a peek at that today. And then social media, yeah, on all of them, or
Yeah, I'm pretty much on all of them. I'm most active on Instagram, so at Robbie underscore Vegas underscore official, and that's ROBBY. A lot of people like to say IE.
yeah,
It's ROBBY. But if you go to the media page of RobbieVegas.com, it will link my socials, it will link where you could find the podcast, and it will link where you could find my music. So it's all there.
perfect. All right, so everybody, Follow this man. Got more music to come sometime this year. Unknown release date yet. But right now, we definitely want to crank up Rock Show for y'all to hear in case you haven't heard it yet. And if you have heard it yet, it's good to hear it again. Robby, thank you so much for stopping by Radio Bypass. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Man, thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun, and hopefully I'll come back when I release some new tunes.
Absolutely. I'm counting on that.
All right.
All right, everybody. Robby Vegas, turn it up a little bit louder now because we're going to crank up Rock Show.